everyone, and welcome back. So we are coming up on the 12th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Again, if your parish is following the Year A reading cycle, you will hear this exact reading tomorrow at Mass. If your parish is following either Year B or Year C reading cycles, then you're not going to hear this exact reading, but I still invite you to enjoy the lesson regardless. Here's how this is going to work. I'm going to do the reading for you, and then I'm going to give you all the missing context clues and all the missing puzzle pieces in an attempt to help you better understand what it is that's being said here, because it is so important and it is so profound, and sometimes it's really difficult to understand when you're sitting at Mass. So let's get right into it. We're going to be doing this week the second reading, which is a reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. Here's what it says. Brothers and sisters, through one man, sin entered the world, and through sin, death. And thus death came to all men, inasmuch as all sinned. For up to the time of the law, sin was in the world, though sin is not accounted when there is no law. But death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over those who did not sin, after the pattern of the trespass of Adam, who is the type of the one who was to come. But the gift is not like the transgression. For if by the transgression of the one, the many died, how much more did the grace of God and the gracious gift of the one man, Jesus Christ, overflow for the many? The word of the Lord. So this is a super important one, but it's actually really interesting because it's incredibly hard to understand what he's talking about if you don't know what he's about to say in his letter next. See, because this is a big, huge letter that he wrote to the Romans, and in the following paragraph, he's getting ready to explain the foundational theology behind baptism. And he's using this paragraph to explain why baptism is necessary. I'll show you what I'm talking about. First thing he does is he brings up Adam. And he talks about how through Adam's one transgression, he introduced sin into the world and therefore death. Sin and death are always connected. Death is the result of sin. They cannot be separated. So through his one mistake, sin entered the world, so did death. And now there's this universal problem where all of humanity is going to participate in sin and all of humanity is going to experience death. The next thing he mentions, though, is Moses. Why would he bring up Moses? Moses existed centuries after Adam. Because what did Moses do? Moses got the law of God from the Lord and gave it to the people. That marked the first time in all of humanity that anyone had any idea of what law to follow, which is his point here. Why, could you hold everyone who existed between Adam and Moses, could you hold them responsible for breaking a law and sinning when they weren't even aware that a law existed? Yeah, apparently you can, because sin still existed and so did death. So that's a big transgression on Adam's part, right? But what happened next? Later, years later, God sends his only son here to be sacrificed and permanently defeat sin and therefore death. Meaning, even though we will all participate in sin, when we die, we don't just die. We have this other option to have this eternal life instead. And not only just this eternal life, but with him, with the Lord. What an ultimate gift that is that he's giving us, right? But how do we access that gift? Well, what St. Paul is getting ready to explain is that we access that gift through baptism. So hopefully that helps you understand that reading a little bit better. So when you're sitting at Mass this Sunday, you can look around and feel a little bit proud of yourself for being one of the few people in the room who actually understands the message and the whole big point of what is being read to you. So come back next week. I'm going to explain one of the readings from next week in the 13th Sunday of Ordinary Time. I look forward to seeing you then. Enjoy Mass in the meantime.